Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. Welcome to beautiful, partly cloudy but somewhat sunny Vermont. I thought it was a fantastic day to get outside and do something a little more fun than what we've been doing the past couple months, where a lot of the content's been coming from my basement. So this is going to be our first rollerblade skate to ski video. Last year, if you follow our channel, if you watch our reviews, if you watch our content, we did a series of rollerblade reviews. So we looked at skates like the Maxim Edge, we looked at the Twister Edge that I have with me, we looked at the Macro Blade, we looked at a bunch of different skates and talked about their different benefits, who they might be best for, and stuff like that. And in those reviews, we talked a little bit about Rollerblade Skate to Ski program. And instead of doing a series of reviews this year, we thought we would do a series of skate to ski videos. So basically, as a quick introduction to Skate to Ski program, it was designed as a cross-training program, a cross-training tool for alpine skiing. If you don't know my personal background, in addition to my job at Ski Essentials, I also have coaching certifications through USSA and USASA. And I can genuinely tell you that from a coaching perspective and also from a training perspective as an ex-competitive skier, rollerblading is a hugely beneficial cross-training tool. And the Skate to Ski program is really fun, and I like the way that it breaks it down. So I thought we would do kind of the Ski Essentials version of the Rollerblade Skate to Ski program. What we're going to do in this first video is talk about some basics, talk about setup, and then as we go through the different phases of the Skate to Ski program, I'll start to bring in some of my coworkers, friends, people of varying ability levels, so we can kind of look at problems that certain skaters might be having, assess those problems, maybe give some recommendations to you guys off of their troubles, and kind of go from there, and hopefully have some fun with it too. So before you start skating at all, before we get started with any drills or any basics or anything like that, it's important to choose your skates and choose what's right for you. So what I've been really enjoying for the Skate to Ski program, and these are my personal skates, this is the Rollerblade Twister Edge X. There's a bunch of different skates that Rollerblade recommends for the Skate to Ski program. This, surprisingly to me, isn't actually one of the real recommendations, but it really works well. If you want the highest level of skating performance, particularly for the Skate to Ski program, having a full hard shell boot like this is really awesome. Basically because you get the same lateral support that you do in a ski boot, or maybe not the same, but similar. So Twister Edge X, that's what I'm going to be using today. I would definitely recommend it if you can get your hands on a pair. These things are selling out really fast. Another great skate that I mentioned is the Maxim 90. That's one of the skates that we reviewed last year. I skated a bunch last year, and it really works well for the Skate to Ski program too. In fact, it was particularly designed for the Skate to Ski program, and if anything, it's a little better than the Twister Edge, partly because you get a longer wheelbase. Bigger wheels on the Maxim, basically, so the wheelbase is a little bit longer. I always find that a slightly longer wheelbase feels a little bit more like a ski. Not too surprising, I'm sure. But that's a great choice too. So really any hard shell boot, I'll flash a few other options up on the screen. If you're looking for that premier level performance, those skates are great. Maybe you skated a bunch when you were a kid and you've got a pair of aggressive skates lying around. This is a newer pair of aggressive skates. It'll work, it's not ideal. But say you've got a pair of skates like this lying around in your closet and you don't feel like investing in a brand new pair, this will certainly get you started. A problem that you can run into on these is the sole plate hangs out so much that when you're starting to do more dynamic carves, you can let's call it booting out, because that would be the ski term. You can boot out on these, and I'll tell you from experience that booting out on pavement is less fun than booting out on snow. If you're totally a beginner or more of a recreational skater, a soft boot is going to work well too. You won't get the exact same power transfer as you do with the full plastic shell boot, but it still works really well. This is the Macro Blade 80. Comes with a brake attached. Those guys come with a brake in the box, the Twister Edge. Aggressive skates don't come with a brake at all, so these are things to keep in mind. So this comes with a brake, nice comfortable fit, much more comfortable right out of the box. I actually had to do some custom work to my twisters to make them work. You know, it's very similar to a ski boot. It's a hard plastic shell boot, and every once in a while you'll get a pressure point or something that you need to stretch. These are going to be more comfortable out of the box. They roll great, great components, and everything about this skate is pretty high quality. Just a little bit more user-friendly for a beginner skater. This is the same thing, just 3 wheels, 3 100mm wheels. So this is the Macroblade 100. Maybe you have a little bit of experience with skating and you want something that's a little bit more efficient, a little faster. This is a great choice too. Actually, I know a lot of people locally that have chosen this as their personal skates. So that's a little touch on choosing skates. There are less expensive options than the Macroblade too. We sell a skate called the Zetra Blade, which is very inexpensive, and that'll get you started too. You know, with any of these softer shell boots, if you start to get to like a high level or you're really doing some high level drills, you might want to consider a firm shell boot. So that's a little bit on choosing your skates. Hard to go wrong there. You know, they're all rollerblades. They're all gonna work. Next up is is personal safety equipment or protective gear. So rollerblade, and we sell this. This is a pack of knee pads, elbow pads, and wrist guards. I would recommend wearing pads, especially if you're brand new to the sport. They really help. You know, you're gonna fall. Chances are you might fall frequently if you're brand new to it. Having knee pads to fall onto, having wrist guards to help, and elbow pads too, they really work well. Make sure you get something that fits you properly. I can't emphasize that enough for protective equipment like this. If your knee pads and your elbow pads are sliding around on your body, it's just not going to perform right. If you fall on them, they can slip out of place and stuff like that. More experienced skaters, I think it's okay if you don't want to wear protective equipment or pads. Just keep in mind the decision that you're making, and it's going to hurt more, and you might get a little bit more injured if you fall. So strongly recommend this, especially for beginner skaters. And for anyone out there, please wear a helmet. I'm guilty of putting on skates every once in a while and not putting on a helmet. I really emphasize that you should wear one. I should wear one. We all should be wearing one. It's one thing to fall and scrape your knee. It's another thing to fall and hit your head. Head trauma is a serious thing, so I would strongly recommend wearing a helmet. Most people are going to have a bike helmet kicking around their house. This is actually a ski helmet. This is the POC Auric Cut. I basically pulled the pads and pulled the insulating out of it. Now, this is going to be hotter than this, so on a fairly warm summer day like this, I am going to go with the bike helmet every time. So that's it. That's choosing your skates and choosing your pads and choosing your equipment. I'm going to get set up. I'm going to throw my skates on, and I'll be right back, and we'll start some intro drills and get started. All right, guys, so I got my skates on, and we're ready to get started. Now, I'm already standing up now, but say you sat down to put your skates on, something that can actually be really challenging for a beginner skater is getting up, and I'll kind of show you why. So say you're in this sitting position, getting up from here can actually seem kind of challenging. If you try and do this maneuver, all of a sudden your weight's super far back, and most people are gonna have issues where their skates are kind of going out from under them as they try and get up. Flip over onto your knees, put one skate in front of you, put all your weight on that skate, kind of center your weight over that skate, and stand up straight over that skate. That's really gonna help people getting up. Now, in a standing position, I see this happen with new skaters all the time. They just end up like kind of wandering and rolling wherever the terrain wants to take them. An easy way to stop that is to put your skates in a T position. And if you kind of squeeze your feet together right now, you're not going to go anywhere. So that's getting up, that's standing. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a basic stride. We're going to talk about A-frame turns. We're going to talk about striding for power, and then we're going to talk about parallel turns. So I'm gonna do a little bit of skating back and forth here. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. And that'll be it for today. You know, we'll go over those 4 things. That'll get you started skating. After, we'll end with a little bit of free skating, and then we'll pick things back up with phase 2, 3, and 4, where we start to integrate some drills, we start to use some cones and stuff like that. So basic skating, I'll get back here a little bit. Easiest way to start is to put yourself in that T position and really just start going skate to skate completely laterally. So there's really no fore aft movement right now. All I'm doing is switching my weight from one skate to another and lateral movement. So you'll hear us talk about this throughout these videos as being in an athletic position. For this basic stride, you don't even need to get that low. Just focus on staying balanced, staying centered, and just do some practice. Just kind of skate around a little bit. I'll do a little bit myself here. Okay, now we're gonna move on to A-frame turns. So A-frame turns are kind of like your snow plow in skiing. I'll go back here, get a little bit more speed, and we'll show you what I mean. So this is a pretty perfect spot in my opinion. I've got pretty much flat pavement here, but maybe like a touch of downslope, which is gonna help when we start doing our turns. So we'll start with just some basic strides, and then pretty much right away, we don't need much speed, get into basically a snowplow position. You can see the A-frame in my legs. We didn't really do any turning there, but this is the position that you're looking for. Weight on both your inside edges. If we were to talk about this in ski terms, we're on both inside edges just like a snowplow. So in that position, if we weight one skate or the other, we're gonna start making some turns, just like a snowplow. So A-frame turn to the right, A-frame turn to the left, A-frame turn back to the left. I don't know my directions clearly. And all I'm doing there is switching my weight between one skate and another. So these are great things to practice before you move on to anything. You want to make sure that you master these steps, master the basic stride, master the A-frame turn. In that situation, you can pretty much skate anywhere. You're gonna have really good control, you're gonna feel comfortable, you're gonna feel confident. Now, before we get too far, we want to think about speed control and braking. Now, as you can see, I don't have any brakes on my skates, but what you're going to want to do, especially if you're a beginner, as we talked about, is choose a skate with a brake. Now, you can put a brake onto these twister edges, which a lot of people might want to do if you choose this skate. I'm going to demonstrate here, and then I'll show you some clips of some coworkers and friends kind of performing this and also struggling with it a little bit. The key here is the scissor. You want a slight scissor in your feet. I'm rolling because of the slant. But you want a slight scissor in your feet, most of your weight on this back skate, and then if I had a brake, all I would be doing is that. Now, if you don't scissor your feet, if you just do that, you're on basically nothing. My weight's now balanced on like a 10-inch platform instead of, if I get scissored, we're now on like a 2-foot platform. So that's key for braking. Braking can be kind of tricky for new skaters, so another thing to practice. I'm going to jump ahead just a tiny bit here. We'll get to this in phase 2 or 3 or 4. I actually can't remember, but if you don't want to use a brake, the T-stop is basically the alternative to a brake. Now, if that looks challenging to you, if that looks like something that you don't want to do, get a brake. Or get a skate with a brake and practice with it. So, we've done our basic stride, we've done A-frame turns, talked about braking. Now we're going to do some more powerful strides, striding for power, and then we're going to do some parallel turns. So, we talked about kind of being balanced and upright for the basic stride. For the striding for power, that's when you want to get much, much lower. And we're even going to get to a point where our back is almost like parallel to the ground if you're really trying to go fast. And I'll go back here again to demonstrate. So unlike when we were doing those basic strides, we're really going to put a lot more emphasis on kicking off as well as gliding on one skate. So best thing to do here is to practice some just kicks. So choose one skate to be your glide skate, one skate to be your kick skate, and just do this drill a few times. Good thing to practice is to try and stay on that skate for a little bit longer than you think you might want to. Really just getting the balance there. And then do the same thing with the other foot. And then we're going to start linking them together. So instead of that one foot staying stationary, we're now going to use both feet. And you can see I'm not really getting crazy with it. I'm still going back to 2 feet at a time in the middle there. Once you're comfortable with that, you can start transitioning to real strides and linking real strides. Now with any of this stuff, you don't want to rush through it. So if you need to take a little more time with the single leg kicks or that kind of in-between stage, that's fine. If you're feeling like you're mastering it already and you want something else to work on, this is something that we talk about a lot in Nordic ski development, Nordic ski drills, is driving your leg forward. So the alternative leg to your kick leg, you're driving it forward. If you've ever Nordic ski raced, probably your coach drilled that into your head like you did to me. So push off and also push forward on that other skate. And you can spend countless hours doing this. You're never going to get too good at it. And the next step of this is to really try and stay on that glide foot as long as you can. And we do that by accentuating to the outside of the skate. So you're kind of getting, it's almost like you're engaging with your outside edge a little bit when you first make that stride. And that's just going to help you stay balanced and stay on that striding, gliding skate a little longer. More speed, less effort, stuff like that. Final step is parallel turns. So parallel turns, unlike our A-frame turns, just like if we were talking about snow plowing versus carving, we're going to use the outside edge of one skate and the inside edge of the other. And this is really just like carving on skis. You want your upper body to stay quiet and composed while linking turns with your lower body. Now the best way to start this, in my opinion, is just to practice one turn at a time. So let's practice our left turn. Pretty good. Now we'll practice our right turn. Now something to keep in mind is skates don't have side cut. So a lot of us have become used to skiing on skis with side cut, where pretty much all you have to do to initiate a turn like that is tip the ski on edge, give it some lateral input, and you're gonna turn. You'll find that on skates, and this is part of the reason why they're such a good practice tool, is you have to give them a little bit more skier input. So you have to turn your femurs a little bit and kind of steer the skates instead of just lateral skier input or lateral skater input. So we did both turns both ways. Let's just start linking them together. Now this is something where I like to have a little bit of a downslope, but you certainly don't need to, especially if you're just starting. Plates like this is great. So that's it. You know, that's getting started. That's phase one. Those are the steps that you should be taking if you're interested in the Rollerblade Skate to Ski program, interested in some ski cross training in the summer. The rest of this video, I guess it's going to be pretty long if I put this at the end, but that's fine, I will anyways. I went for a little free skate, kind of putting all these pieces together about a week ago on the Stowe Rec Path, which is a fantastic place for inline skating. So if you want to watch a little bit more, I talk a little bit more about putting the pieces together, but this is pretty much all you need to get started. So I hope you enjoyed it. Rollerblade has their own series of these videos instead of one long one like we just did. They split up getting started, and they split up phase 1 into like 15 different videos. So if you want to see a little bit more, definitely go watch those. Maybe you have already. They did a great job. And yeah, I'll bring some friends and co-workers into phase 2, 3, and 4. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you can get out and do some skating this summer, and hopefully you find it as beneficial and as fun as I do. Thanks, guys. All right, so now that we did all that and went through all those steps, now's the fun part. You know, we get to kind of put it all together and do what Rollerblade calls free skate, which is pretty much easily the best way to describe it. So all those steps that we just learned. So we're gonna start with a basic stride. You know, I'm on a slight downhill here, so it's not hard for me to pick up speed just doing this basic stride, and it's really good practice too. I like doing it on a little downhill because you can kind of practice balance without losing speed. And we could work in some of our A-frame turns, just make sure that we didn't forget that skill, because this is kind of an important safety step, so to speak. You know, if you're feeling panicked, feeling uncomfortable, you can get into this position nicely. Now we're flattening out quite a bit, so we could start doing some strides for power. And this is just really, you know, use your comfort level and start working in a little bit more power as you go. So coming up on this down slope, we can just stride for a little bit of extra speed, almost not necessary, and then we can do some fun parallel turns, some nice fun carves. This is really where it gets fun, you know, when you start doing those strides for power and you can just generate some speed on your own and then turn that into some super fun carves. Pretty much feels like I'm skiing right now, minus the green leaves and pavement. And you can play with your turn shape too. Ride bigger radius turns, tighten it up into smaller radius turns. I'm losing speed here. Whew. So that was it. We pretty much put all the pieces together. Next time we do this video, we'll be focusing on phase 2, maybe get into some phase 3 stuff. Start to do a little bit more dynamic carves and a little bit more advanced level drills. It's all really fun stuff. I think people will like hearing about that. Of course, if you don't want to wait for our video, Rollerblade has theirs, so you could do that too. And I'm getting pretty winded if you can't tell, so I'm just gonna free skate this out to my car. Probably got about 1.5 miles left. So either I'll see you next time, or if you want to join me for the free skate, you can come with me.